Okay, welcome everyone. This is the public Kubernetes Steering Committee meeting from February 5th, 2025. I'm Patrick Uli, I'm your host today, or BOSUM as we call it. Remember, this meeting falls under the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to be excellent to each other. I see that we have already one person adding himself to the attendees. Do we also have perhaps someone who wants to continue taking notes if there are any? Well, if not, we'll just do it collectively. So we have, I think, as far as I can tell, no other community members. If someone, well, so we can basically go through our agenda and see whether, for example, Rita shows up. She has one item on the topics for today. And whether there's any pass downs. So let's get started. Attendees, I think, is covered. CNCF updates is a standing issue. I think we know that. Does anyone want to say something about that? Okay, well, the technical oversight committee is going through a re-election soon, but I think we are still collecting candidates. Yeah, that's one topic. Thanks for taking notes. I think we'll hear more from CNCF about that, but there are no results or no candidates known yet, I think. Don't think we have anything to vote on. Let's go straight to the topics. The one thing that we have, and that is a continuation from past meetings, is about the Security Response Committee. But I don't see Rita on the call. So we may have to skip that. Then another backlog item is questions and hopefully some answers in the call today about the KubeCon Ask Me Anything session. I think we've done a few of those in the past meetings, and this probably is what we have left, I suppose. I haven't added that myself. I think it must have been Marty or someone who was diligently enough to prepare the pending questions. So let's go through those. They will be recorded. That will mean that we'll have the answers for those who are interested if they capture the record or go through the recording. First one, and that is a theme that we touched on already before. What happens? Let me just read it out aloud for the recording. Over time, some of our sister projects become unmaintained. How can we shore those up without owning everything in the ecosystem? Or should we? Anyone who wants to answer that? Well, I can give my version of an answer. I suppose what we see is a consolidation in some extent. The cloud native landscape certainly exploded at some point, and now, okay, yeah, Ben is pointing out that he has audio issues as well. Well, as long as you can hear me, we are fine. I'll just keep talking. Yeah, I think there's some consolidation. Kubernetes sees as a resource crunch ourselves with among our maintainers. So definitely the answer can't be that everything moves under the Kubernetes project. That also wouldn't be viable. What we probably as a project need to be careful about is our own dependencies, being honest to our community and our users about things that we know that work and that we recommend, or be careful about what we are using ourselves. I think one example that comes to mind is core DNS, which is relevant for Kubernetes for some of our testing and which has the same maintenance issues. And I think all we can do is raise awareness. I think we are doing that with our weekly our yearly reports about our own issues, and perhaps some SIGs can include information about adjacent areas where they see problems. That's just an idea. Yeah, Antonio?
Yeah, I agree with all what you say, but in addition to the problem with the sister projects, we already have this problem internally, right? In the
Yeah.
Kubernetes org. We also have projects that we need to maintain, people is leaving. So I think that is something that, I don't know, is as you say, we need to communicate and highlight these problems, and we need maintainers more than contributors these days, right?
Yeah. I can imagine that someone asking this question might have expected that because it's Kubernetes, there's a vast amount of paid maintainers that can just pick up some work. Well, that's certainly not the case, unfortunately. Sometimes I wish it was so, but it isn't.
It that's true, but like for example with SIG etcd, part of what's happening there is that they're able to leverage the project's resources, and it's a little bit problematic for us to offer that to things that are totally outside of the project. Where I'm actually having some parallel discussions about finishing eliminating that. We have just a few places where that's not true right now, and basically everything else is like it's either part of the project or we're not hosting it, we're not providing code of conduct, any of that. Some of that they can kind of get from the CNCF, but there's other things like one of the things that I've seen both of these projects struggle with is releasing and hosting builds. um, and that's something that we can like marginally handle. I mean, we actually already wind up republishing etcd and core DNS as like specific examples. I don't think that you would apply this to the rest of the landscape, but we have kubeatom in the core repo where if you want to create a cluster, it needs to deploy certain things, and not being able to make sure those projects are fully supported is a problem. I mean, even just for our own testing, right? There isn't like, what are we going to do? Start switching everything over to kubedns? I don't think that's coming back, and it would be more work to just like write a whole replacement than to sort this out. So I think the things that are a direct dependency of the project's health also matter, right? Like we can't have Kubernetes functional if we don't have like cluster DNS. If there were no healthy CNI providers, then we would have to do something. That one, there's enough alternatives that I mean we could consider like replacing one of them or something. Huh? How about that?
I
Sometimes,
don't know if is it me.
Or maybe it's using the wrong input. Let me check if it's actually using this microphone. Sorry. It should be.
I think we've covered this topic well enough for now. I guess I'm sure we will keep getting questions about it. So I suggest we move on to the next one. And I see that Rita, I have an echo.
I think that is thing.
It's the day of audio problems.
How about now?
No, it has this noise of, and when you open the mic, we have echo.
Right now?
Yes, when Patty was talking,
No, no,
and
no.
now
Right.
I
I mean,
think
right now. I changed the setting. Is it still echoing?
it sounds really bad.
Okay. Well, I think we'll try to get through the meeting and then give our computers a rest, and hopefully tomorrow everything will be better. Yeah, as I said, I think we've covered that. It is a recurring topic. We will certainly discuss it again at KubeCon Europe, but let's move on. And I saw that Rita joined. I moved around the agenda, so we'll cover the Security Response Committee after going through these questions, perhaps until past or so. Yeah, what does the steering committee do? I think we've answered that quite extensively. I don't see a value of going through that question again, unless someone wants to add something that hasn't been said yet. No disagreement. Yeah. How much does, next question, how much does each pull requests CI cost? How much, and more specifically, how much did we spend on Code Freeze Week? Ben, probably that would be something for you.
That's a very complicated question that spans multiple cloud providers and lots of different services, and some of them aren't exclusively used. Like if you want a full answer, that's not even possible currently because we'd have to be like tracing who's pulling images, is this RCI, how much did that cost? We can get some kind of approximation, but this has been one of the ongoing problems. We've had some requests to, like, for example, support more branches to do LTS, but we haven't had people helping with this sort of deep dive into the spend. We've been more focused on much less granular spend information that gives us kind of some very general idea where things are going, but not say, oh, it's the Kubernetes project's core repo testing during Code Freeze Week. That's a much harder question to answer and hasn't been necessary to how do we make sure that we haven't totally blown the budget and like keep everything running. And Stickgates Infra is still kind of exiting that. I think also in terms of the nice to haves, I think we're a little more focused on things like how to onboard more people more easily, and some other like required changes that have to happen. Things like deeper diving into exactly where all the resources get used. We know like roughly how much is used for CI overall, but that CI is shared with hundreds of repos.
Yeah, I think as a user of a CI system, I'm personally also interested, but I know that it sounds I sometimes see people trying to optimize the resource usage by being careful about using draft PRs, for example. It may just help open about that we are really spending money, that nothing is cheap, nothing comes for free just because it's Kubernetes. I think that goes back to also the maintainer thing. People have to be aware that they are using a shared resource and just have to be mindful about what they are doing, whether it's appropriate, and well, try to do more with less. Yeah, I guess we don't have much more to add to this. It's something that will be, again, something that we need to pay attention to. And I know that Ben and SIG Infra do care a lot about that too. So the last question, then we're done with the last AMA, I think is I'm not sure whether it probably wasn't something that we really could own, I believe. Can we extend the call for papers for London by 2 weeks? It's a bit ironic that it took us so long to answer this question, but it's probably no longer relevant. But I think, as far as I know, we don't control the schedule for the KubeCon Cloud Native Con. That would have been a question for the CNCF and the conference organizers. Yeah, no disagreement. Okay, I think then we have covered the AMA, and with that, I think we can come to the Security Response Committee. Rita, do you want to take over? Do you have anything to present? I can give you presenter rights if you want to share something.
Yeah, you can just click on it if you, I mean, I can present, you can present, doesn't matter. It's just a working doc.
Yeah, just go ahead and do it. Then,
You mean share my screen or?
Yeah, or do we need to look at it? Well, you can open it. I can give you.
Okay, let me move some stuff on my screen. 1 second. But basically, it's just details of the nominations. And as a group, we've gone through the first two together, and we all agreed. But this would mean increasing the current SRC total numbers by 1. So if I think in the past, when we've gone through these things, we had to get steering agreement and address any concerns. So that's the call to action. Let me just share my screen. Sorry, should have been more prepared. Is the screen? Page. Sorry about that. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we've gone through the first two, and I believe y'all, so first person worked in SIG release before, and has quite a bit of experience on SIG release. Also is an employee at Canonical, which is why we think he's a good fit in terms of day-to-day job and experience working with the release team. And this was actually something that, if you guys remember, I went on stage at the Contributor Summit in the last KubeCon, and I said, hey, we need more help in the SRC. So he actually reached out. And then similarly, I believe most of you know Adolf, who again, very very involved in SIG release and also SIG security, I believe, and also is involved in OpenSSF. And he also expressed interest to help out. And then Nathan is someone who just got added recently, so SRC has not evaluated this as a group, which is why I'm focusing on the first two, right? So given that, do y'all have any questions? And is this something you are okay with proceeding? And this is the current process for nomination, just as a refresher.
So I don't know how we usually do that. I can go ahead and I can say that this looks like a very reasonable proposal to me. I have no concerns with the suggestions.
So yeah, nomination will be collected and shared between SRC and steering. And again, this one being SRC is plus one member, not so that's I guess again a change. Are y'all okay with that?
I think in this case, silence means consent, because I don't see that we actually need voting. I see thumbs up from Antonio, from Sasha, as reaction in Zoom. So I think that's a yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I don't know. Oh, sorry. Screen's bad. Any other questions? And Micah, I see you joined. So as I mentioned on Slack, right? Because the Nathan, you added Nathan like really, I think last week or maybe before that, but we internally SRC haven't gone through it. Yeah, so I just focus on the first two, so we make some progress, and we can always come back to Nathan if that's okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so sounds like we have consensus. With that, I will update SRC and then get the new members onboarded. Sounds good. Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for reaching out and keeping us informed. That's
thank you for the
proactive. Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay. We have plenty of time left. Question, do we want to use that to discuss something that wasn't on the agenda? If not, then we can all get some time back. We do have one standing item at the end of the meeting. That's among the steering committee members who wants to take the next meeting, which I don't know actually when it is. Yeah, I'm doing this for the first time. Magi is much better, have much more practice with being the Bozun. I don't even know how to pronounce the word correctly. Yeah. We can take it offline. If not, I'll just continue.
Can you check the chat? I'm muting to avoid sound issues.
No, now it's fine. Now we are done. The audio is fine again. Okay. You basically said that we need to vote on the
Yeah, so I don't know. Are they? I switched browsers. Is it working? I've also filed an exception to get the desktop client, but it's going to take a while.
we can hear you fine.
Okay.
So
So
then
actually,
let's do a formal vote. I mean, we
Yeah.
have but just to be
I
on the
don't
safe
expect
side.
any issues with it, but like basically we worked to introduce this previously because there was some concern about a similar pattern you sometimes see in the SIGs where people are pressured to just rotate in someone from their employer and that sort of thing. So they wanted to make it a 2-step process so that there's sort of just like a check from SRC that like, or from steering that like, yes, this sounds good. I don't think it's going to change much, but I understood why we added this. And if we say that like steering is approving something, then we should like collectively, like we should actually collect a response from everyone.
Do we just call out or basically acknowledge that as steering and capture that in the meetings? I think that would be a fine. So that's a +1 from me, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm +1.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we heard from everyone.
Yeah.
I'm +1 too.
Yeah, +1.
Yeah, +1.
So that's 5 out of 7. That's a majority. We don't know whether Machi cares or can comment, so he's neutral, but I think we have quorum and we have approval also with a formal vote, so accepted. Thanks, Ben, for reminding us. I was browsing through the document when it just didn't occur to me that we need to do a formal vote. Okay. With that, we are back to the person question. Any volunteers? And again, I'm badly prepared. I admit that much. Well, let me just volunteer to do a better job next time, and I'll continue for one more cycle. And with that, there's nothing else. We're done for today. Thanks, everyone, and see you online. See you in the next meetings. Goodbye.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.